So I just got a PRS medal from 1985. It's number 73. It's like the 73rd guitar ever built. Do you know what the first medal ever built was by chance?
How many were made?
What was the first one? Like, what was the first serial number?
Right in there somewhere. We made a bunch of them right in there. Bud Davis was a paint sprayer that did motorcycles and talents the first batch.
Right. You don't happen to know like where the first serial number might have landed? I was surprised that there was one so early in the serials.
I can look in my office on Monday. I might have it in my production reports that year. I'll look.
If you could, that'd be super, super cool. I'd really appreciate that.
All right, I'm in Miami right now, but I'll be home on Monday.
Oh, nice. Good for you. All right, have fun. I'll catch up with you on Monday.
I wear my ish hat every day.
We just got Ish mask. I gotta send you an Ish mask now too.
All right.
See you, Paul. Yeah, bye. Hey, Internet. It's Jesse and Jay at Ish Guitars. We are here with probably the craziest collection of 3 limited guitars we've ever had at the same time.
Ever seen here.
This is unprecedented, insane. This is not 1, not 2, but 3 PRS medals from every year of the start of PRS. PRS started in 1985, so we have a 1985 here. This is number 73. We think it might be one of the first guitars ever made as a medal, but we'll get to that later. Over by Jay, we've got a 1986. And over by here, we have a 1987, which is super squeaky clean. Again, we'll get to that more in a minute. All 3 years, all early PRSs. It's hard enough to find one from that era anyway. And the medals are super rare. I talked to Paul Reed Smith personally about them. There was only maybe 30 of them made. I think some people on the internet say like 40. Paul said he's like, oh, maybe 30.
It's still not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, his exact words were like, you know. They don't know exactly how many. And what's interesting about these, they're all different. Every single one is a little bit different. They were painted by a guy named Bud Davis. He was a motorcycle painter back in the day. And somehow him and Paul became friends. And this became the first ever limited run, really, I guess, of Paul Reed Smith guitars. The Dragons weren't a thing yet. The Dragons didn't start until, was it 96, I want to say, or 93? Yeah, 93. So there was nothing else in this time that was like a limited,
It's got that motorcycle style, though, that 80s.
Oh, this is very, like, you're riding your Harley.
Yeah, exactly.
You're grabbing your PRS medal, bringing it with you. Why they call it metal, I have no clue. I guess they look.
It was the 80s. Everything was metal. We'll just go with that.
I don't know. But really, really interesting pieces here. So Bud also, this is very interesting. Bud actually built, painted a couple private stocks around 2010, give or take, when Paul Miles was the private stock director at that point. And they built a couple more, I want to say 4 guitars, in private stock with Bud painting them.
Oh, that's
cool. So they are actually his painting. Sweet. I know Paul Miles himself has done some in his kind of image type of thing. Really cool. But so what Bud did with these, so you'll notice, for example, on this 85, you have some very symmetrical straight lines here. You've got these crazy kind of like red, pink, yellow, purple fade. I don't even know how you do this, by the way. I genuinely have no idea how you lay down paint like this. It's super, super cool. It's all done by hand. It's really, really intense. So you notice this one's very symmetrical. And again, they're all unique. So on this guy back here, the 87, you'll see there's some of these little swishes around the...
that counts. That's the word.
Is that good? Around the sweet switch and around the knobs and stuff like that.
A little more ornate, a little bit.
Yeah, there's some funky differences. See, there's ghosting and stuff in here, right? This one's a little more like straight on, you know. Really interesting. Up in the top here, all of the lines end a little bit sooner. Really totally different. If you see them from a distance, they're going to look the same, but when you look up closer, you know, it's quite a bit different. And on the 86, Once again, a much different color palette. This guitar is really cool in person. It's a little bit tougher to see in video or in photos.
Hard to see.
But these lines over here are almost like this like yellowish gold that like pop when you hit them in the right light. And then this side has these like darker colors. There's like a dark purple in here, maybe a dark blue. And this kind of wraps the opposite direction. When these lines come down here, instead of doing the wispy thing like that coming up, then they're kind of coming down. It's really interesting. These lines cross over on the bottom.
I love the color split on this one.
Yeah, the color split's really super cool. Super, super cool. These guitars were based on, you can take this back, Jay. These guitars were actually based on standard 24s. They weren't done on custom 24s. So these are solid mahogany bodies. You can see, you know, through the little chips right here on these guys. All solid mahogany. These are Brazilian rosewood fretboards on there too, which is really cool. And moon inlays you see on most all of these. As far as I know, pretty much all of them had moon inlays. I was doing a little bit extra research. I didn't really see one with birds. I'm sure there's probably one out there.
That's kind of the fun.
But not a lot of guitars were ordered with birds when PRS first started in '85. They were an option. Almost nobody ordered them in '85. In '86, a couple people bought them. In '87, they got a little more common. They really caught on by like '87, '89. You started seeing birds on a lot of orders.
They're the early era, though. They're still experimenting.
So something cool about these inlays, the moon inlays, a lot of people don't know this, is that the crescent that's in the moon is the same exact cut as the headstock. It's all supposed to match the headstock and kind of this cut here and stuff like that. It's kind of a little fun little tidbit there. Also, really interesting on these guitars are the Tnb Pickups. Tnb stands for treble and bass. The official name is standard treble, standard bass.
Right.
They were Paul's first attempt at a really amazing humbucker that could hit, you know, Gibson PAF tones from the late 50s and get Stratty tones and stuff like that. And I talked to Paul Smith about these a couple years ago when we got one of our first like early PRSs in the shop. And he said his exact words were he didn't realize how close he had gotten to getting like having like the perfect pickup. And so they made a bunch of variations kind of after this and went through the years and sort of went like away from this design, and then now they're almost going
what about those, right?
Back towards it. Exactly. So these are a really, really interesting look at not only, you know, with an artist, right, you might look at the paint they use, the canvas, whatever. Like this is, you know, first is the actual build of the instrument with the wood and the handwork that goes into it, but also the design. A lot of these parts is really, really interesting. The very early man-made bridge that was designed with Paul, stuff like that, really, really cool. In '87, so this guitar, these pickups on the E and the B string, they changed the slugs a little bit to try and roll off some of the high end. So we're going to play these guys for you and see if they sound any different, which is what Paul would do.
Yeah, of course.
So we'll do that in a minute. Also, really interesting with these guitars is there's no tone knob. So you have a volume knob, you've got a 5-way rotary selector, which a lot of people hate. Because you don't know where you are when you're on stage.
It's a little tricky to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But everything sounds great for your options.
It works great.
Can't argue with that at all.
And the famous sweet switch.
Yep.
Which is interesting. We'll hear it in a minute. It uses a funky, it's not a capacitor, it's a something else. And it is a very, very different sound when you use it. So it's a really interesting control configuration. When it first came out, this was pretty revolutionary, right? Because who else did electronics like this at this point? You know, you're talking 1985. This was pretty, you know, early. A lot of people were still just playing a Fender or Gibson. There wasn't a lot of other builders out there yet.
Yeah.
You know, BC Rich had just started doing some of their wacky stuff. You were just starting to see, you know, some of the shredder, you know, the Charvels and the Kramers and the, you know, all that different stuff like that. So these things were all pretty groundbreaking, really. A lot of really intuitive stuff here.
I mean, it's been played, but these things play great still. I was amazed. Like, it felt like a new guitar, and like resonant and everything. It was kind of mind-blowing. Yeah,
they do play and sound amazing. And you can tell kind of a joke in the vintage world is when you find a mint guitar that it probably wasn't very good because somebody didn't play the crap out of it, you know what I mean? So this one's got plenty of wear and tear on it. That one's probably might be the most beat up. And
The 87's minty,
87's
though.
actually near mint.
Yeah, that
this,
one's beautiful.
This guitar, for its age, is like what I would consider excellent or mint, considering the age. It's really, really nice. Not saying it's a bad one. We'll play all three of them, A, B. But somebody obviously took care of this more. These guys were having a grand old time. So really interestingly, this guitar specifically, I mentioned it's number 73. Now, 73 is really early, right, for a PRS build. They built approximately 400 guitars their first year. It's said that about 70-ish% of those were standards. But the earliest PRS we've had previous to this was number 3, I want to say it was like 378. It's really, really tough to get a guitar in 1985. Very, very few.
Yeah.
I mean, to put that in perspective, I mean, now they're making, I don't know, probably thousands of guitars a month.
You can't even.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Very, very, very low production for that year. Now, what's interesting, right, is that they built very few of these medals, as we know, about maybe 30-ish, maybe less, maybe a couple more. And so, if it's number 73 and it's a medal, is this the first medal? I don't know. So I called Paul Reed Smith and asked him, and he doesn't know either, but he was in Miami, and so it's Friday right now, and so he said he's going to check. He actually has some of the early production manifestos and stuff like that in his office back at the factory. So on Monday, he's going to give me a shout back and check, and I'm really interested to see what the deal is with this guitar.
That would be amazing.
It's going to be insane.
Would be
Obviously, we
awesome.
can't update this video, but we'll drop it in the description below what happens.
Yeah,
and
we'll
probably do a little follow up on that. But really, really interesting. It would be so cool. If this is the first one, by the way, if this is the first one, I'm totally keeping it.
Yeah, of course.
Or charging way more for it.
Oh yeah, of course.
This is the only two options.
Of course.
Either way, it's an insane guitar. It also says to Brian on the back of the headstock.
What a lucky guy.
I don't know. I don't know if he's important or not, but we'll find that out. I sent Paul some pictures and stuff like that, and we'll see what he remembers. So, without further ado, we're going to play these suckers. Jay's going to give you a quick little tour of the electronics, and then we're also going to A-B them back to back, just in a single position, just to see if there's any differences, because it's interesting. All right, so this is a cut. We had to stop filming on Friday because we were super busy.
Yep.
And we were supposed to wear the same clothes as we did on Friday, which I did, and somebody missed the memo.
Trying to look clean, you know.
I also like shaved and stuff a little bit too, though. I got a haircut. It
was Monday.
Meantime. Yeah, so, and also we've had a super long day. It's been crazy busy this Monday, so we're gonna crack open some of the nice 12-year here Scotch while we give you the playing demo.
Beautiful.
So, Jay, can you do us a comparison of the 85 we're going to start with? We're going to go to the 86 and end with the 87. We're going to only pick one pickup position for each of these so we can hear it just back to back, just so we can hear the tonal differences.
And then I'll come back and I'll switch through the kind of
and then we'll screw around with them.
Just kind of hear them. So
would you like us? Let me pour the rest of these first.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, go ahead and play that sucker.
Let's take it.
Oh, you didn't even plug it in yet? See, we're sloppy today.
It was a great Monday.
It really was. I have to say that sounds really great.
For a metal guitar, that's some nice
It's not
clean.
a metal guitar.
I know. All right, so that was the 85.
Scotch break?
Yes, let's do a quick break.
Tom, Scotch break? Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, let's do the 86.
That stuff is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, same thing, neck, right head, same exact. A little different.
Sounds a little different. I feel like this might be a little bit warmer.
That one was a little. This one has a little bit darker, like kind of low mids to me.
Interesting.
Let's hear the last one.
That one sounds the most balanced.
Yeah, definitely.
Like by far, very, very, very like balanced and even.
Yeah.
So interestingly, on the 87, this was the first variation of those Tnb humbuckers, and on the high B string and E string there, they changed the slugs a little bit to roll off a little bit of treble. So that might
Gotcha.
be exactly why.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily hear a treble roll off, but it just sounds
A little more
even overall, which is kind of interesting.
You know, in a testament, honestly, to these, we left on Friday, and we didn't tune them.
Yeah, we probably should have done that.
They sound in tune, though.
No, they're
Like,
dead on.
that's crazy. It's,
I mean, this is when these guitars were not carved with the CNC machine. They did have replicators at the time, which was this really weird rig that they're kind of funny looking, but you took a body like this, right? And it was just a bare body, and it had like an arm that would come down with a ball on it, right? And on the other side of that arm, it would come over and there'd be another body next to it. And that body would have a router on it. So the way that you built a guitar before we had CNC machines, if you wanted to build multiples, is you'd take one that somebody would hand carve, right? That Paul would hand carve or whatever, and then you'd have this replicator, and it would sometimes have like 4 or 5 routing heads on it. And then you'd take it and you'd roll it over the top of this.
That's cool.
And as you rolled it over, it would replicate it to the other one.
That's
really kind of
surprisingly
interesting.
genius.
But that also meant it wasn't terribly accurate. So there was a lot of, I mean, there's even with a modern PRS, there's so much handwork that goes into them.
Right.
With these, there's even way more handwork that goes into them, or went into them, I should say. So kind of interesting stuff.
Cool.
Why don't you give me this one back here?
We'll go through
Why don't you shred around on it a little
switcheroos.
bit? Yeah, I'm interested to hear, some of the bridge humbucker and some of that fun stuff. I think that one is my favorite sounding.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. It's,
But this one is really, really even. I really like the sound of this guy too. I mean, they all sound great. None of them sound bad, you know what I mean? But very, very even. This one's kind of got some.
this was the mojo on it, I think.
Yeah.
The 3. Cool. So let's do the same thing. So this is, like I said, the neck, right? Well, just for a point of reference, for the same kind of thing. So.
Now that I hear it again, I can hear a little bit of that sharpness on the high end. But this one definitely has that like juiciness, like you're saying, kind of like that little bit of a mojo. But I can hear why it is that you probably tweak that a little bit.
So now we're gonna go to we did the second position, and this is gonna be your single coils. They're in parallel between the two of them. So. That's some snappy funk in there.
That's a surprisingly great stratty, funky type of sound. Again, these pickups, this was the first iteration of trying to get a guitar's humbuckers to be able to sound like single coils. A lot of people don't realize.
Be happy with it.
Yeah, and actually have it sound good. A lot of the PRS design is based around those pickups and the scale length and a bunch of other stuff. But I mean, it sounds really good.
Yeah,
if you had me in a studio and I couldn't see the guitar or something,
it'd be hard. You'd have to have real good ears.
That'd be really
pick that
tough
out.
to know it wasn't.
Cool. So let's do the next one. This is going to be series single coils. Variation, a little
Nice
more
little
low
thickness.
end, right?
Yeah.
Cool. The next one is the outside coils of both of them.
I don't know what that sounds
It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It's like a cocked wah. Like if you have a fixed position, it'd be like some stuff Zappa would use.
Super funky
Something
mid-range.
strange, yeah. That's a weird one. Our camera guy Tom had to take his headphones off to hear if that was actually what it sounded like.
Yeah,
that's kind of the wild card, I think.
Yeah, that was something.
And the last one's just your bridge humbucker. It's pretty standard. Get bright.
Sounds good. Heck of a bright guitar for sure.
Now that
surprisingly bright considering it's a solid mahogany body also too. So that's a bright pickup. I'd be interested. We're gonna make another video with all of our vintage PRSs that are in right now because we have a whole collection of them.
Right.
Including custom 24s, including early, super early private stock number 15 and stuff like that. So we're gonna do a big comparison video besides this and compare all of them. If you want to watch it, we'll drop the link below, of course. But other than that, I think that's about it for these guitars. Yeah. So to wrap it up, these are super cool guitars. We're gonna keep drinking scotch and making more videos, which you should subscribe to so you can watch them all the time because it's super fun. And that's about it. You'll see more of this crazy stuff happening soon. Comment, like, share, and buy stuff from us. See you guys.